welcome to L.I.N.K Live. My name is Marina Mayer, Editor-in-Chief of Food Logistics and Supply and Demand Chain Executive.
I'm Brielle and Mackenna. I'm the Associate Editor.
And I'm Mackenna Morales, and I am the Assistant Editor.
And today we are talking about inflation, infrastructure, and that big shrimp recall that's going on right now. I'm going to kick it off first with inflation, because that was something that I've been kind of monitoring in the news a lot. I know we talk a lot about shortages. I know Brielle in particular talks a lot about shortages. If you go to SDCExec.com, you'll see everything she's written about regarding lumber shortage and the microchip shortage, and now we have a driver shortage. But I did find an article that published in Harvard Business Review, and it's these shortages that are creating this inflation. And the inflation is something that everyone in the supply chain should keep an eye on. I don't have to tell you about the housing market. We know home prices are going through the roof. We know that there's more demand than there is supply. Rental car rates continue to skyrocket. So if you're going on vacation, hopefully that pans out for you. And gas prices continue to rise, which I'm kind of concerned about because we are going to be utilizing the gas tank a lot more lately. And contractors have seen the cost of lumber increase in excess of 200% over the past year. A Forbes article says that some efforts to resolve supply chain problems are contributing to these escalating prices, especially if they focus on reshoring. We found an expert column on SDCExec.com from Capitus that says that U.S. small businesses should review their dependencies on imported goods and research domestic alternatives. Then there's the ever-rising food prices, which I talk about in Food Logistics July issue on food service distribution. The All Items Consumer Price Index, also known as the CPI, it measures economy-wide inflation, and it increased by 0.8% from April to May of this year, and is up 5% from May of last year to May of this year. And that's all items, all commodity goods. But if you take that CPI rate for just food, it increased 4.4% from April a couple months ago to May, and food prices were up 2.2% higher than they were in May of last year. So 2.2% in the entire past year. This is in the midst of pandemic. This is in the midst of the e-commerce boom. So much is going on. Industry experts are saying that the global food price surge has reached its highest level in the past decade. And the USDA is saying that grocery bills could rise another 3% this year. So a lot going on with inflation. Try to keep an eye on those things. I know that General Mills and Campbell's, they've been warning consumers that a price increase may be coming if these shortages and supply chain bottlenecks don't get worked out. I know price increases are being seen in the restaurant business. Chipotle, Red Robin, Cracker Barrel, they've all raised their prices on certain items on their menus. As we all know, it's hard to find ingredients. It's hard to find staffing. There's a shortage of everything going on. And that's the economics of supply and demand. They continue to be challenged. So Brielle, I'm going to pass things over to you so that we can talk about this big shrimp recall that's going on.
Right. So in addition to shortages, we now have to worry about getting sick from our food as well. There's obviously, a lot happens with food. People are actively ingesting this. So obviously, in the billions of food that we have out in the world, sometimes this is going to happen once in a while. But right now we have the Avanti Frozen Foods issuing a recall on frozen shrimp now that people are getting sick. Major retailers like Whole Foods and Meijer are dealing with it as well. They're having to let their customers know that there's a recall. So it's frozen, cooked, peeled, and deveined shrimp. And then also there's some cocktail sauce involved as well. And a lot of people were getting sick. They're seeing abdominal pain, vomiting, nausea, fever, and diarrhea. And so this is obviously a problem throughout the supply chain because we have to figure out isolating the incident, determining what all the food is contaminated and what exactly the cause is. And from there on out, isolate the issue and prevent this from happening again. Obviously, our food recalls are extremely important, or an extremely important thing to focus on in the industry because we have to do it in a safe manner and a fast manner to keep people from getting sick. That's all I have.
So don't eat the shrimp. Stay away from shrimp for a while. Mackenna, I'm going to toss things over to you because I know this morning that you had a blog that posted live on infrastructure. So I'm going to toss things over to you.
Yeah, so if you watched last week, I wasn't here. I was actually on vacation. I took a road trip from Madison, Wisconsin, all the way to Dallas, Texas. So I drove through the entire country. And when you drive through the entire country, you see how bad the roads are. There were so many detours and potholes and rickety bridges and unfinished bridges. And the country just desperately needs an infrastructure bill, and President Joe Biden actually reached a bipartisan agreement just the other day on the potential infrastructure bill that he is planning on writing too. But I found out while I was writing my blog that I'm so sorry if you can hear my dog barking. Someone just came home. I'm in a different room. She's going nuts.
I was wondering who that was. Sounds like a bird.
It's just Plum the pillow. No, it's Plum, the real Plum.
Yes, the real Plum. She hears someone and she's pissed.
Let her hear her roar.
But the American Road and Transportation Builders Association reported that over 220,000 U.S. bridges need to be repaired or replaced. And when you think about it, that is 1/3 of the total bridges in the United States. And at the current pace that we are going at in order to repair the bridges, it will take upwards of 40 years. And the states that have the worst bridge conditions are Iowa, Oklahoma, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Missouri, and Louisiana. And I drove through the Midwest, so I can confirm, yes, they need to be fixed. But then I'm so sorry, I just lost what I was about to say. But the American Society of Civil Engineers gave out the U.S. infrastructure a grade of C-, which is actually higher than what it was in 2017. But a C- is average, but it still isn't great, and roads just desperately need to be repaired as well. So I'm looking forward to see what this bipartisan agreement from the White House is going to be like, because it's going to cost about $2 trillion over 8 years in order to fix all the bridges and roadways as well. But that is all I have too.
Well, and I went back to look at the article that we had published on SDCexec.com about the I-40 bridge that had to close. And that is across the Mississippi River between Tennessee and Arkansas. So it's in that mix that you just kind of talked about, Mackenna. So
yeah, I drove, or that was one of the detours that we had to take was that closure. And then there's the pedestrian bridge that collapsed last week. And this is why this bill is so important, because when something like this happens, the pedestrian bridge closed the highways for the remainder of the week, and that costs companies money. People aren't getting their products. Your customers are mad, but worse, people could lose their lives, and that is something that we need to prioritize too.
Well, we talk about supply chain disruptions a lot, and this infrastructure bill will hopefully, if it gets approved and can carry through, will help eliminate some of those bottlenecks, because that's why they continue to happen, because we have to close roads and bridges because they're a mess, and these trucks are having to find detours, and it may take longer, and people aren't getting their shipments in time, and it's a whole convoluted mess. So hopefully we can get that paired away. Thank you, ladies, for your time today. That's a wrap. Hope to see you again next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central, same time, same place, same great supply chain news you can use. See you again.